Welcome to the February 2021 update for the Interprofessional Educators and Practitioners Association. Today we'll be joined by the committee chairs of the Curriculum Committee, Faculty Development, Research, and our Student Faculty Committee. Each of them will give updates on their work from the past 6 months and maybe give us a little hint of what's to come next. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to sharing this with you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Ruby Sheriff Sandell, and I am the Interprofessional Education Project Coordinator, as well as the IPE Student Faculty Committee co-chair, along with Lynn Goldstein, who is with us today. And she is the Executive Director for Academic Affairs in the College of Medicine, and also the co-chair on this committee with me as well. I have the honor to also introduce our student liaison, Danielle Gabrielli, which is a MS4 student in the College of Medicine, and it serves as our Student Government Association Interprofessional Education Liaison. After you, Dr. Gabrielli.
Thank you, Ruby. Not a doctor yet, but I'm excited to get there here in a few months, hopefully, assuming they let me graduate. So I'm actually really excited about today because we've made a lot of progress on our student side of things. And the key focus that we've been working on this year and this semester specifically is going to be sustainability of the initiatives that we've created. And so that'll allow us to not only continue to build on what we've done, but also make sure that students are engaged for years to come as our initiatives continue to grow. And so there's a few things that we've done to make sure that our work is sustainable. First, we have been working with all of the 7 colleges so that we can have a representative present on our interdisciplinary student council. And what that allows us to do is have input from students from all the 7 colleges so that they can give their thoughts and perspectives on the different initiatives that we have and how that's going to work. We were able to launch that successfully this year. We have representatives from every college. And what's important to mention is that those students were selected either through their government entity, so whether that would be their student council or their student government group, or whether they're nominated through their interprofessional education faculty champion. We've created a system where this is sustainable and it doesn't rely on 1 or 2 individuals to try and hope to find somebody that fills that role. And so we've successfully launched that this year, and we are in the process of identifying what is the specific role of each individual student representative, and what are they going to do so that they can make sure that their voices are heard with regards to the IP initiatives that we have. And this really goes back to the core values of what I believe is important for us to promote, not just interdisciplinary education, but meaningful interdisciplinary education. If we're not able to provide that exceptional experience for our students, I believe that the values that we're trying to instill in our students would be lost. And so that's something that I'm really happy about, that we're able to get off the ground and going. In addition to that, we've been working on our interdisciplinary clinic, and with COVID, with the pandemic this year, it was an extra challenge in how do we incorporate students in a safe way, and how do we do it in a way that allows us to continue to grow the work that we do with the vision of going mobile and being able to take what we're doing on the road. And so we focused on that last semester. We successfully incorporated 8 of the different professions on our clinic. Obviously, that's not the full 18 profession that we had last semester, or rather last year in the spring of 2020. But we are moving in the right direction and incorporating more folks onto our team. With that said, we do have representatives from most of the different departments on our executive council. So they're in constant communication with the different colleges in making sure that, is it possible for them to get engaged? How can we possibly include them in the clinical experience, despite the pandemic that's going on? And when can we have them? When is the soonest we can have them back in the clinic? And then lastly, on that front, our team has been participating in various vaccination clinics in partner with OU Health so that we can help fight the pandemic that's going on. And I think this has been the biggest testament to the importance of interdisciplinary education, because the value we were able to bring by recognizing the strengths and weaknesses of the different professions and how those could come together so that we can address an emergency that is a once in a lifetime experience, we were able to mobilize very quickly and be able to put our students in an area of strength so that they can do what they're doing. As an example, our public health students were the ones that are coordinating all the volunteers on the ground that are not necessarily clinical, while at the same time, we have our clinical students, our pharmacy students, medical students, nursing students that are focused on administering the vaccines in a safe way and in a way that is that puts our students in a position of being comfortable with the work that they're doing. So those are some of the key things that we've been focused on the past semester. And for the remainder of the semester, we're going to continue to focus on the sustainability of our work and how we will be making sure that the Unity Clinic, that our Interdisciplinary Student Council, and the future initiatives that we're working on continue to grow and thrive as kind of I begin to transition out of medical school. So thank you so much, Lynn and Ruby, for being a part of this and being our champion, as well as Margaret for taking the time to really make sure that our students' voices are heard. So I'm really excited to be here and represent our students. It is genuinely an exceptional privilege to be here.
Good morning, I'm Denise Bender, and I'm one of the co-chairs of the curriculum committee. My other co-chair, Blake Lezaroth, is not able to be with us today, but he sent some really innovative ideas that I think I'd like to share with you. We have a very big committee of very hardworking people, and I'd be remiss in saying that we can never be too big. So if you're listening to this, know that there's always a place for you on our committee, and there is always an exciting project for you to work on. So let me tell you about it. Our deliverables is a 2-year menu. And I know you've seen this picture before, and you finally thought, nice picture, good color choices. Where are you going on it? What I want to do is first talk about it in terms of our big picture, organized under the constraints under which we work, challenges, and then opportunities that exist. In the next slide, we're going to talk about one of our success areas clustered under the area of our Unity offerings. So let's first start by talking about our constraints. So if we could flip back one, Sarah, thanks. We have a constraint that we are dealing with early to mid-level learners. So they have packed curriculum regardless of what college they come from. It is difficult to find a time when students are available, much less multiple groupings of students so that we can have interprofessional. We also have students whose curriculum are fairly lockstep in that some are in the clinical material very early, some are in it much later. So having content that actually can speak to a variety of people has also been a challenge. So how we want to address that particular constraint is to think of this as a certificate approach. Whereas if you go from the very bottom to the very top step, there may be a thing that you leave with, some sort of an online certification that allows you to have a value added piece to your education. We think that selling it as a unit might be easier than trying to sell it as individual offerings, which we've done so far. So now let's look at our challenges while we're still on this slide. When you look at all of these things, some professional programs are very tightly scripted according to their accreditors about what they offer and when they must offer it. And so for them to be able to open up a course to put our content into it means they have to release some of their own content. And that has been difficult because obviously content is in those courses because it has to be in those courses. So what we're trying to do is, especially in our simulations, tweak our content so that it's specific and well-honed and desirable so they can just pluck it off the shelf and use it, but so that it's open-ended enough that each program can add a few tweaks that allows it to be well-suited and perhaps an acceptable substitution for something they already have in their curriculum. We also have a challenge, and this we have not solved yet, is finding a clinical home for our simulations. Students enjoy simulations, faculty see the value of simulations, but a simulation can't just be a fun activity. It needs to be inserted into a particular course, and to have continuity between the simulations, they need a home. So faculty representing each of their colleges need to help us identify a home where our simulation menu will possibly fit in nicely for them. But having said that, we are excited with the opportunities that exist to continue to make all of our right now individual modular things come together and work together. As you know, there is a HRSA funded True OK grant that is open to everybody on campus who has an interprofessional activity. It would certainly fit into that grant, just simple matter of finding out what the initiatives are and packaging it to fit. My co-partner, Dr. Lezeroth, is already working with faculty to create telemedicine lectures. Everybody can see the benefit of that, and training in telemedicine certainly will be a piece that would be very interesting to the grant PIs. The simulation centers are creating some new use cases, and we'll talk about those in the next slide, that are going to be available on a shelf. Think of it as the IPE version of a big box store where people can just come in, shop for what they want, and bring it back. So there are opportunities to use what we're making. It's not going to be one and dones. It's going to be one and done, and then, hey, you want to do it again? It's available. We're also looking at the existing model of our clinics. They're student-led by amazing students, of which we have no shortage. And they have already allowed us to partner with some of the existing departments like Department of Family Medicine, so that students who are in those clinics as learners can also participate with our IPE learners to share the learning as well as develop the own skills they're supposed to be getting on their rotations. These and many other initiatives make us very hopeful that not only will we keep building our products, filling the shelf of our invisible stores, but as we go to the next slide, let's take a look at how it's going to play out for people. This is just one example of what we've done so far. Our Unity series comes across the 4 areas that we've identified as the IEPA, that this is how we want to value where the students start and where they progress to. We have all of these under awareness already existing. Now, regretfully, the open houses and the big event had to take a hard pass because of the COVID, but this time next year, they well may be able to happen. In practice, we have simulations that are created, the same theme, or being created, the 2S LGBTQ+. They will be available along with the other ones for students to get the experience they need to work safely in a live clinic, should that be the next step they go, or to go on their own clinical rotations, better prepared to reach out interprofessionally. At our application phase, we have the Unity Clinic, and the last group already talked about that and the amazing work that I am honored to be a part of. But there are other clinics on campus, other existing clinics that have residents and fellows that are ripe for reaching out with our IEP students, our IPE students, saying, hey, what if we add a few? What if we set up some of our rotations into the rotations you already have? And finally, the synthesis, our new and growing area, where we're going to have a chance to showcase what our students have done. Learners who have gone from the beginning to the very end, who can show the campus that not only are we good students ready to be practitioners, but we know how to practice interprofessionally, and this is what we're taking out into the world. So next growth area where we want to put our focus this year is getting people to shop in our store, getting people to come and be in our simulations, help us pilot them, take them and tweak them for their own programs, apply for grants to be able to use some of these simulations. So we're not to the point where we have a coupon flyer yet, but I see it coming. Thank you very much for the opportunity to share what our amazing committee is doing.
Hi, my name is Jerry Ive. I am one of the co-chairs of the Faculty Development Committee. We are excited to share with you all the things that we have planned and are planning for the upcoming time period. So we want to start off with sharing with you sort of our 2020 and 21. Oh, sorry, we have a slide here about our deliverables. So our goal in our Faculty Development Committee is to engage the campus community to support IPE curricular activities. So this is a way to engage faculty, staff, and students. So we want to engage the entire community in all these wonderful IPA activities that we're doing. So to do that, we have a menu of options that we are pursuing. So currently we have educational recognition, some recognizing some needs, and Unity Week. I'll touch on each of these individually. So the mindfulness series, this is something that I am facilitating. Once a month, we have a hour-long sort of lunch and learn via Zoom. The next session, the 6th session, is on February 12th. So they're always from noon to 1. And I welcome anyone to join those sessions. Again, they're via Zoom, so you're all welcome. T3 is our train the trainer training. should be T4 maybe. So T3 is where we are going to send a group of IPE practitioners and educators to learn how to continue to develop some of these educational learnings towards the rest of the group. So we had an original plan to send the group earlier this year, but we had to adjust that a little bit. So the group that we will send will go April 14th through 17th. We're going to send a number of people to that. And the learnings from the trainer will inform. This is hosted by the Nexus community. And a lot of that information that the trainers will learn from this training will inform some of the other things that we're doing, specifically like the certificate option, which we'll talk about in a second. So when we move to the recognition section there, we have some team and leadership awards that we grant every year. We sent out a request for nominations recently. So those applications are due February 19th. And we plan to announce both team and individual leadership awards at Unity Week, which is that first full week in April. So if you have anyone in mind who you would like to nominate, please do so. The nomination process does not take very long, and we love to see a lot of nominations because people are doing great work out there, and we want to recognize that. The second option here under the recognition is a certificate options, and we are developing some options. We like to call this like the little C certificate. So, this is not a formal academic certificate. This is more of a structured process that people would go through and be recognized for it. So currently, the way we're envisioning it, it would run pretty much for an academic year. So we would take applications in September for an October start, and the program would run from October through April. And there would be consistent periodic learnings, whether it's maybe taking classes or having discussions and working on projects. And at the end, you would get a certain certificate that recognizes your interest in and knowledge of interprofessional education and activities. So we're really excited about that one, and we have a lot of work going on about to coordinate that. And again, we will utilize a lot of the information that we get from this train the trainer program in this certificate option as well. We have a category here for seed grants. So we recently went through an initial vetting process of seed grants. So every year we solicit proposals for seed grants. There's money available for interdisciplinary projects. So this means we have to have at least a couple of different departments represented or colleges represented doing cross-disciplinary or interdisciplinary work. We have identified a couple of projects that we sent for further approval. So we should be able to announce some seed grant awardees fairly soon, and we're looking forward to that. There are some great projects that were submitted, and we think there's a lot of potential there. The last category we have is here for our Uni Week, and we have some great speakers that we have coming along, and Dr. Barbie will mention a little bit more about that. And I just wanted to mention the IPE symposium as well that we'll mention. So we're looking at a number of different options for that one, different speakers to come in, different groups on campus to present at that time. And so I will turn it over now to Dr. Barbie to talk a little bit more specifically about that.
We are super excited about Unity Week this year. It will be a virtual event, but we're going to have several different pieces to go along with that, including celebrating the awardees for 2020 as well as 2021, which we didn't have the opportunity to do that last year. And we will recognize both the team awards and the leadership awards for both years. Then we're also looking at having a national speaker come and provide us with this Creating Connections workshop, which we're super excited about, and you'll be getting more information about that soon. And again, it will be a virtual event, and we hope that many of you guys are able to and willing to share some of the projects that you're working on related to interprofessional activities, and that can be in conjunction with students or with faculty. We would love to hear how your activities are going in the interprofessional realm. So we look forward to this week, this coming year, April 5th through the 9th. Thank you.
I'm one of the co-chairs of the research committee, and Melissa Kraft is with me. I'll deliver our update, and then Dr. Kraft, if she has any comments, she can chime in. We can go to the next slide. So here's our broad charge for the committee and what we work on throughout the year. At the beginning of the year, we chose to approach our work differently and to break down into secondary work groups and try to advance our initiatives through that mechanism, which I think we have started that process and will continue to work through that process. Of course, we've all had challenges this year with competing priorities with the public health domain, but we continue to meet on a regular basis and advance our initiatives. So I'll take you through kind of where we are at this point and where we're planning to focus our efforts for the rest of the semester at least. So the first area for the competency, these are really efforts directed at the 4 domains of the IPEC competencies. And the secondary analysis area, probably the main area that we've spent some time on through a work group this fall semester to the current date, relates to previous work that we did with student diagramming techniques of team-based communication and delivery of care. For those of you that have been around for a number of years, you may recall the life circle diagrams, and we have continued to look at that as a mechanism where we might do some additional assessment of our students and their experiences and their communication with each other. And yet, there have been limitations in the way that it was conceived in terms of the workload required to actually analyze that data. So we've made contact with the OU Norman computer science department, and we've had recent meetings, and we have another meeting next week where it looks like we may be able to work with them to look at automation of that process. So it would be a little bit more, well, computerized, to use a fancy term from my computer science background. And so we're hopeful that we'll continue to work with them. We had a productive meeting with the department chair, Melissa Kraft, and Ju Young and I recently, and so we'll continue to work on that. We have other secondary analysis work groups that have done some qualitative analysis that may continue to advance their work, but the main thing I wanted to report right now is the life circle diagrams. We do have a work group on debrief questions and revisions of those that are used following interprofessional clinical learning experiences to better align with the IPEC competencies. We started that work in the past year. That particular work group has not made as much progress in the interim, but that's still an area that we'll be looking at. Next up on really the next 3 areas, the attitudes, team outcomes, and the longitudinal evaluation. I think we previewed back in the summer that we were looking at collectively a new assessment tool called the Jefferson Team Observation Guide, or the JTOG. And you may recall this is an instrument that can be used to gain assessment data from multiple perspectives, including the patient. So Angela Harnden is a member of the research committee and has been for a while, and is also with the Office of Interdisciplinary Programs. And through her program evaluation hat, she has been kind of shepherding the work to try to incorporate JTOG into our tools that we can use. So at this point, working through, I think at this point, last update I had is the contractual pieces of using the instrument are pretty much to where they need to be so that we can start using it. Angela has been working with RedCap to incorporate this instrument into that venue. This is a tool that there may be a handheld app coming at some point in the future, so that may be an application we can take advantage of. So that is one, we make progress on that, and now I think our committee will continue to look at where to deploy that as kind of first steps and how to roll that out over time. So that will continue to be one of the things that our committee looks at. The interprofessional attitude scale, or the IPAS, you may recall, was a tool that we used for a couple of consecutive years, and the data analysis for that. We've done a little bit of discussion of that. Data analysis is still ongoing at this point, but that will probably be an instrument that we won't necessarily use as much going forward if the JTalk pans out the way that we hope it will. And for additional areas, the research committee has provided some review of and input into the survey questions for the students that they answer following the APD activities, and that includes some focused items for the IPEC competency areas covered. So we'll continue to encourage that, continue to provide support where we can, and look for opportunities for research in that area. And to date, we don't have any particular areas other than kind of what I mentioned already for experimental research and grant opportunities, but that should continue to be something that we look at and evaluate as a committee if we have something that we want to put forward in that area. So those are my main comments. I want to thank our research committee members and the Office of Interdisciplinary Programs for all their staff support. And then Melissa Kraft, if you have any follow-up comments, please offer.
I really don't. Thank you very much. I just want to say thank you, Vince, for that great recap of what we've been doing this year and actually the last couple of years. As always, our focus is really to try to show evidence that what we are doing to instill the IPEC competencies actually makes a difference. And I think that we're moving closer and closer to doing that. I want to say that I'm very excited about our potential collaboration with the School of Computer Science, not only because they can help us move forward with our secondary analysis of the life circle diagram tool, but also because it's a whole other group for interprofessional education and practice. And we did lay that groundwork with the professor and director that we talked to the other day. So I think that as those students work with us, we invited them to join us with the interprofessional community up here, and that could start a whole lot of opportunities. So thank you, Dr. Dennis.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Margaret Robinson, the Associate Director of the Office of Interdisciplinary Programs. I'm going to wrap up today's presentation with a couple office updates. First, I wanted to remind you who our team is in support of our campus-wide interprofessional education offerings. Dr. Valerie Williams is our director as Vice Provost for Academic Affairs and Faculty Development. She is our boss and our fearless leader, so we appreciate her leadership so much in what we're doing here. I'll quickly run through each of those shown here. Dr. Angela Harnden is on the team as Program Evaluator. We will discuss just shortly a little bit of her work. Dr. Ruby Sharif-Sandell is our project coordinator working on faculty activity system deployment. Katrina Myers and Kylie Peethow are both social workers who are half-time with the IPE office and work on simulation. Sarah Cable is our outreach coordinator, and she does a lot of different projects for the office. She is the glue that keeps us together, including she is now our coordinator for All Professions Day. Daniel Gibrelli and Addison Davis are our two graduate student assistants. Daniel and Addison are working on Unity Clinic arrangements, and Addison will actually be joining with Kylie and Katrina working on our student enrollment and progression information as we can track students through their IPE experiences to award that culminating experience that Dr. Bender spoke about in the curriculum presentation, and our transcript notations and awarding of cords at completion of the IPE experience. So we're very excited to get that project up and running. Next slide. I did want to quickly wrap up today's discussion with a couple of our campus-wide initiatives that are going through the office. The first one there is the faculty activity system. That's where Dr. Ruby Sharif Sandel is currently tasked. She is working with a small group right now on phase 2 deployment of a campus-wide system for CVs and annual evaluations. It will be an opportunity for us to start tracking all the amazing interprofessional work that is going on campus. We know you guys are working hard, and we need to have a system in place by which we can record that and reward that. And so we're very excited to be in phase 2 launch, and over the next year, hopefully launching to everyone across campus. The other project we're working on is our evaluation plan. Dr. Angela Harnden has been working on a logic model for the office that will put together that great work of curriculum committee, faculty development, the student committee, and of course our research initiatives into an evaluation plan that ties it all together in one nice logical model. We're in the final stages and hope to have that posted out to everyone in the next month so that everyone's on the same page of where we're going with this. And then I wanted to wrap up with the HRSA Mobile Outreach Unit discussion. We are so excited to be part of the College of Medicine grant on this activity. We are currently inviting open invitation weekly work group meetings to help us plan out the policies and procedures surrounding the bus. So as we create this physical bus, how are we going to operate it and ensure that everything is interprofessional in our outreach initiatives? So that is open invitation. Happy to share more information if you'd like. And so with that, we just wanted to wrap up by saying thank you again. During COVID, we have had to all pivot, and IPE has been a great example of where the team can come together and have a true impact in times of need that can be rewarding for all participants on that team. For our student participants, Sarah Cable will be emailing you soon about that transcript notation and how you can order your graduation cords to go with your graduation regalia. And of course, I'll give one final plug for IPE Week in April and the symposium and invite you to join us for that virtual event. But thank you for your time today. We look forward to the year ahead.